Round Britain Quiz with Kirsty Lang.
Hello and welcome to another of our second round matches in which teams defeated in the first round of the Round Britain Quiz series get another go against the same opponents. This week, Scotland, who were beaten by the north of England earlier in the year, have a chance to reverse that result. So it is a warm welcome back to Val McDermott and Alan McCready against Stuart McConey and Adele Garras. It's great to see you all again. Now, we'll hand the teams their question papers now because it's only fair to let them see our often convoluted questions written down. But while they are doing that, and you'll probably hear some wee bit of whispering, let me give you the solution to the puzzle that I left unanswered last week. And it was this. If Harry uses his design skills, Jeremy presses clean washing before putting it away, and Tom just sits patiently, who are they? Well done if you worked out that these are famous people whose names could easily be a two-word sentence. So in order they are Harry Styles, Jeremy Irons and Tom Waits. Plenty of sixes being scored there all around the nation, I suspect. Maybe it'll turn out to be a straightforward one for our teams today, or maybe not. We are going to start with a question sent to us by a regular listener, Jane Ann Liston in St Andrews, who is keen to find out what you make of this one, Val and Alan. What might Sergio Leone make of Alan Quatermain's Companion, a Michael Jackson album, and a citrus fruit? What might Sergio Leone make of Alan Quatermain's Companion, a Michael Jackson album, and a citrus fruit?
Well, Sergio Leone, of course, has made his reputation as the spaghetti westerns, but we've put pasta to one side and gone with one of those films that is really iconic in that genre. Starring Clint Eastwood, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly.
You are absolutely correct.
Which obviously ties into Michael Jackson's album Bad.
And the citrus fruit, Ugly Fruit.
Ugly Fruit.
Which may be pronounced, I don't know if it's oogly or ugly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's spelt with an I.
Yeah.
It's also known as a tangelo. It's a sort of hybrid of an orange or a tangerine with a grapefruit. And it really is ugly to look at. So that leads us with Alan Quatermain's Companion.
Who's obviously good.
Yeah, Mr. Good.
Yeah. Do you know who Alan Quatermain is?
Is that she? Is that right?
Yeah,
Rider Haggard?
Or King Solomon's Mines.
Solomon's Mines, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the Companion was a fairly common name. So you can have a guess at it. Very common name, the first name.
John
Good.
Yeah,
Correct.
John, remember I said that to you earlier.
So that's absolutely right. So I think that's a 6 actually, because you did get all of them. I know there was a little nudge towards the good, but you did get there. So 6 out of 6 for Scotland. Great start there. North of England. Why might you be likely to find an original Sex Pistol, Althea's Wimbledon partner, a journalist and a peer who got to the heart of the matter, a Yorkshire baritone, in and around a national park, and which one? So why might you find an original Sex Pistol, Althea's Wimbledon partner, a journalist and a peer who got to the heart of the matter, a Yorkshire baritone, in and around a national park, and which one?
Well, we think, to go to the end first, we think we're looking at the Peak District National Park. Because the original Sex Pistol would be Glenn Matlock.
And the journalist and peer who got to the heart of the matter is probably Joan Bakewell.
Althea's Wimbledon partner. Now, are we thinking Althea and Donna? No, we're not, are we?
So what Althea are we thinking?
Well, this is going back to the 1950s, and it does relate to a notable first.
1950s, a notable first. Is it a notable first in tennis?
Yes.
Like the first women's doubles
Yes.
Sort of, yes.
championship?
Yeah. So, Althea...
So we're looking for a female tennis player with a name that's also a Peak District tie.
Buxton?
Buxton. Yes.
Correct.
Was
But I
there
can't think of the first
somebody
name.
called Mrs.
It is
Buxton?
Buxton, but I can't think of the first name.
And were they indeed the first women's doubles?
I think I might need to give you this, actually, because no, it was Angela Buxton, that was
Angela
correct.
Buxton,
She was
that's
an English tennis star, and she partnered Althea Gibson, who was the first African-American winner of a Grand Slam,
Ah, right.
in winning the women's doubles at Wimbledon
Okay.
and French tournaments in 1956.
I don't think we would have got
yeah.
that
I knew
by
I know
ourselves.
Angela Buxton, but I didn't know that fact.
Yeah.
So all we need, I say all
Is the
we
Yorkshire
need,
baritone.
is a Yorkshire baritone. Can you think of any other nice Derbyshire towns?
Well, I can think of some. I'm trying to think of a baritone that fits. Castleton. I'm drawing a bit of a blank here.
Me too, I
No,
can't
the
think
baritone.
of
I can't think of any
any
Yorkshire
more.
baritones. Classical or popular?
Classical, yes. Actually
Classical.
known for sort of tragic Verdi roles, actually.
Oh, okay.
Born in Sheffield.
Yeah,
We've had to
Sam.
have Nick defeat here, I think.
No, I don't think
It was
we-
Peter Glossop.
Oh, Glossop was one of the
You
names I
mentioned
mentioned.
Glossop.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I wouldn't have known that.
It was an
no.
operatic baritone born
We
in
can't
Sheffield.
hit ourselves on the head and
but
say,
you,
"Oh, I
but
knew
you
that."
did get Glenn Matlock, the Sex Pistol. You got Angela Buxton, the tennis star, and Joan Bakewell, the presenter of Heart of the Matter in 80s and 90s. So I think we can probably give you 3 out of 6 because you were a bit hazy on Buxton and didn't get Glossop. So yeah. Okay, Scotland. It is time for your music question, Val and Alan. And your extracts today have been helpfully suggested by Dr. Oliver Thomas in Edinburgh. And he asks, why might the following come to the rescue in your hour of need?
Through the woodland, through the valley, comes a horseman wild and free, tilting at the windmills passing. Who can the brave young horseman be? He is wild.
I've been in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. I done said the right thing, but it must have used the wrong line. I've been on the right trail, but I must have used the wrong car.
At first, when I see you cry, it makes me smile. Yeah, it makes me smile. At worst, I feel bad for a while, but then I just smile.
The little clock stopped ticking now. We're swallowed in the stomach room.
The goddess raged, and with fury fraught, the restless regions of the storm she sought, where, in a spacious cave of living stone, the tyrant Aeolus, from his airy throne, with power imperial, curbs the struggling winds, and sounding tempests in dark prisons binds.
Right, so you heard 5 pieces, and the question I want you to answer is why might they come to the rescue in your hour of need?
Well, I think the first one referenced Don Quixote tilting at windmills.
Do you know who the singer was?
I don't.
No.
Because it would help if you knew the name of the singer.
Okay. Oh, it's International Rescue. Thunderbirds are
yes,
go.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, right. So we've got number 4, which is Scott Walker. So, and number 3 would be Lily Allen,
yeah.
Smile. So who else have we got?
We've got Virgil to
we've
find.
got Virgil.
Which
That'll
would
be
number
the end
5.
bit.
Yeah.
And we've got Virgil, Gordon,
Brains.
Gordon, yeah.
And then you've got the second piece of music. Any ideas about that?
Nope.
No.
I should just say that their names were all taken from those of the Mercury astronauts in the early 1960s from the US space program. So you had Gordon Cooper, Alan Shepard, Scott Carpenter, Virgil Gus Grissom, and I may have to step in. So the second piece of music was Dr. John. Right place, wrong time.
Thunderbird 1. Rocket.
That's right,
Yeah.
he was always up there, wasn't he?
So you got the fact that the title of the first song was Don Quixote, and you guessed that it was somebody, Gordon. Can you guess the second name?
Gordon Lightfoot.
Correct. So that the first clip was Gordon Lightfoot, Don Quixote. The second was Dr. John, Right Place, Wrong Time. Third, you correctly identified it as Liliana's Smile. Fourth was Scott Walker, Montague Terrace in Blue. And then, as Alan correctly identified, the fifth extract was an extract from the Aeneid by Virgil. So I think we can probably give you 4 out of 6 for that. Stuart Nadell, the ingenious idea for your next question has come from Mark Nelthorpe in Portsmouth, and it is this. What communicative deity successfully bands together the fourth Greek capital, Melodious Marlowe's loveliest word, and the final tale from a bloody chamber? So what communicative deity successfully bands together the fourth Greek capital, Melodious Marlowe's loveliest word, and the final tale from a bloody chamber?
Well, The Bloody Chamber is one of my favourite books, but I haven't read it very recently. I don't know what the last tale is. Angela Carter's retelling of fairy tales. Yeah. There's a terrific one about Bluebeard. There's a very good one about wolves, which became Company of Wolves.
Yes.
Right. The fourth Greek capital, all we've got is Delta. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta.
Wait a second then.
Marlowe is not Kit Marlowe because he hasn't got the E.
It's not got an E on the end. Yeah, so...
Is the communicative deity one of the Greek gods?
It's a Roman god.
It's a Roman god, right,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Why is
there
he
are various
communicative?
associated with communications. Mercury, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Could these be record firms? Are they? Is there Delta Records?
No.
Well, although you're getting warm in terms of the general theme.
well, Mercury's a record label, and yes.
Oh, this successfully bands together.
yes.
Exactly.
Is names of bands?
Bands.
Right. Well, this is.
The final tale.
So, Melodious Marlowe's
So we're looking for a series of
loveliest
artists
word.
on Mercury Records.
It's not to do with Mercury Records, but you're in the right
wait a minute!
area.
It's the Mercury Prize.
Exactly. It is
It's
the Mercury Prize.
Yeah. In that case, then, good grief.
Final tale from the Bloody Chamber. Is it none of the ones
Let
that
me
I've
think. Who's won
mentioned?
recently?
I mean, you correctly identified Angela Carter and the Bloody Chamber.
Yeah, but
and,
which tale?
And you correctly identified wolves. So now you're looking for a Mercury Prize.
Oh,
winner.
Wolf Alice.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So we've got
Yes,
one.
Wolf Alice.
Who is Melodious Marlowe? This is
Okay,
interesting.
it is.
Isn't it? It's
it
a
is-
songwriter.
It is a very famous BBC TV drama.
Very famous BBC TV drama. I have no idea.
It was The Singing Detective, in which the detective
Oh.
Philip Marlowe describes the word,
Something.
the loveliest word in the English language. It was elbow.
Right. Okay. Wow.
And that-
That is not a word.
And elbow, of course, the band who
Yes.
won
Yeah.
Mercury Prize in 2008 for The Seldom Seen Kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh dear. No.
Let's go back to the fourth Greek capital, which we know is not a city but a letter. And you're on the right track with Delta, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. I'm looking for the name of a band.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give you this. So it is Alt J. They won the Mercury in 2012, and they're named after the key sequence used to generate the capital Greek letter Delta on an Apple Mac. I know it's a tricky one. It's nasty.
Yeah.
So the answer was as you correctly identified, Mercury, the Roman god of communication, because all the clues give us British bands who've won the Mercury Prize for Best Album of the Year. Alt J, named after the key sequence used to generate the capital Greek letter Delta on Apple Mac. Elbow, named after a line in the BBC's The Singing Detective. And finally, Wolf Alice. I'm afraid, North of England, that is a 1 out of 6. So, Scotland. Why does no one write to a Bond villain created by Kingsley Amis, Elvis's manager, a trapped musician, and that's trapped with a capital T, or an entrepreneur with a secret recipe? So, I'll just repeat that. Why does nobody write to a Bond villain created by Kingsley Amis, Elvis's manager, a trapped musician, or an entrepreneur with a secret recipe?
So, Kingsley Amis picked up Ian Fleming's baton after he died. He was the first of many people who have followed on to write a Bond novel in the wake of Ian Fleming's death. And the novel that he wrote was called Colonel's Son.
I haven't just watched the film, actually, a couple of days ago. I knew the answer anyway, but Elvis's manager's Colonel Tom Parker.
And we think the Trapp musician was Colonel Von Trapp of the Trapp family singers. Nope. No, probably not. Okay, that's
I'll come
wrong.
back to that one. Entrepreneur with a secret recipe, we're thinking Kentucky Fried Chicken, so Colonel Sanders for that.
Correct.
Trapp musician.
And as you probably deduce, you're looking for colonels.
Yeah.
Although in this case, it's the title of a song. A dance hit, actually.
That's right out of my wheelhouse. Anyone who'd ever seen
But
me on a
let's go
dance
to
floor
why
would
would nobody write to them?
Well, we're kind of thinking,
Yeah.
and this is a bit weak, we think, but the abbreviation of Colonel is call. So you'd call them, but probably that's not right.
Yeah, it doesn't sound...
We're looking actually for a more literary answer. With a touch of magical realism about it. I think I'll have to give you this.
You'll have to give us that.
It is the story collection by Gabriel Garcia Marquez was No One Writes to the Colonel. But you did correctly identify Colonel's Son, the title of a James Bond novel written by Kingsley Amis, under the pen name Robert Markham, published in 1968, and it was the first Bond sequel to appear after Fleming's death. And then, Alan correctly identified Colonel Parker, Colonel Tom Parker, played by Tom Hanks in the recent film Elvis. The trapped musician, and you didn't quite get this one, is the late singer and dancer Colonel Abrams, best known for his mid-80s international dance hit Trapped. He died in 2016. And then you quite rightly identified Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC. So I'm going to give you 3 out of 6 for that one, Scotland. It's a tough round. Okay, North of England, this is time for your music question. Stuart and Adele, listen to the following pieces and decide how you place them in order from east to west.
We're flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.
Dance to the daddy, sing to the mommy. Dance to the daddy, to the mommy sing. Thou shalt have a fishy on a little ishy. Thou shalt have a fishy when the boat comes in.
You are the one temptation. You are the one I've no resistance to.
So you heard 4 musical extracts there. Can you place them in order from east to west?
I'm going out on a limb here and saying I think that the opera was the furthest east. Turandot? No? No, maybe not. Okay.
Right.
Well, the fishy on the dishy
Well-
is right here in UK.
Well, that was When the Boat Comes In. The theme
Yeah.
from When the Boat Comes In,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is in
UK.
which is Northumberland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who was singing?
Oh, is it Alan Hull? No. I was thinking of a place name then, desperately trying to think of a place.
You're really looking for the names of the artists.
Well, the first one's made famous by, but it didn't sound like her version by Nina Simone. But it didn't sound like her version of it.
So all these singers have place names as their surnames. Is that right?
That is correct.
Right, okay.
So the Dance to Thee Daddy, which you correctly identified, was used as the theme tune for When the Boat Comes In. It's sung by a Geordie born in Gateshead, but his name would indicate another place. It'll be a bit further north.
No.
Two of them refer to places in Great Britain. Just have a pop
Julie
at that.
London?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Was that the first?
That was the first one.
Julie
London.
Yeah.
Okay. And is the other British place name the Dance to Your Daddy?
Yep.
Yeah, well, if it's
Is it somebody called Scotland?
Is it somebody called
Sort of right in the
Glasgow?
ballpark. Alex Glasgow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who, despite his name, was a Geordie, died in 2001. So, yep. And the second one, the opera singer.
Is she a British opera singer?
Well,
is the name
actually from Barcelona? They're quite famous in the post-war years.
Victoria de Los Angeles?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And the final one had a hit with that song when she was just 19 in 1988.
No, I can't remember that.
It is Misha Paris.
Misha Paris.
Yeah.
didn't know
So in order from east to west, we have
Paris is most east, is it?
Paris, London, Glasgow, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I had to give you quite a lot of clues to that. I think I'm going to be generous and give you 2 out of 6.
Good enough.
Okay, Scotland. Why might a rugby-playing and fundraising hero, Stevenson's unfinished novel, and the master of the King's music obstruct your progress? Why might a rugby-playing and fundraising hero, Stevenson's unfinished novel, and the master of the King's music obstruct your progress?
Well, yeah, I think the rugby playing and fundraising hero was the late, great Doddy Weir, who passed away earlier this year.
Stricken by motor neuron disease, and after his diagnosis dedicated himself to raising funds in an absolutely heroic way.
So that's absolutely right, Doddy Weir.
Stevenson's unfinished novel.
Robert Louis Stevenson's unfinished novels, Weir of Hermiston.
Which I saw many years ago at the Robert Art Centre in Stirling, and I actually remember thinking that's a bit of a funny ending. I think I was about 16, and I just remember thinking, poof.
And the hero is called
Weir.
Weir, yeah.
The master of the King's music. Now, we know what it's going to be, but...
Lord Weir.
Lord Weir.
Yeah. Although this is the master, we are actually looking for the first female holder of this office, which dates back to Charles I.
So it could be Molly Weir.
It's not Molly Weir, behave yourself.
No guesses for that. Okay, it is Judith Weir, who is the current master of the King's music since 2014.
Apologies for not knowing that.
So just to recap, why might they obstruct your progress? Because they're all named Weir, which constitutes an obstacle to navigation on a waterway, and it's Dodie Weir, the Weir of Hermiston, and Judith Weir. And I'm going to give you 4 out of 6 for that. Adele and Stuart, your last question today has been suggested by listener Robbie Lumsden in Glasgow. If one person can connect a cowardly lion and a defacer of library books, and another appear interested in prison reform and an inmate at Fotheringay Castle, who would you need to connect a Bloomsbury painter and her novelist sister? If one person can connect a Cowardly Lion and a Defacer of Library Books, and another a peer interested in prison reform and an inmate at Fotheringay Castle, who would you need to connect a Bloomsbury painter and her novelist sister?
Right, this is about biographies, basically.
The Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz is played by Bert Lahr, whose son John Lahr wrote Joe Orton's biography.
And the peer interested in prison reform was Lord Longford, whose daughter, Antonia Fraser, wrote the biography of Mary Queen of Scots, who was in Fotheringay Castle.
And then we think that we're looking at parents and children biographies, and the Bloomsbury painter we think would be Vanessa Bell, whose novelist sister Virginia Woolf.
Yeah.
And Vanessa's son, Julian? Quentin Bell wrote about his mother and auntie.
Absolutely correct. And just to notice, so you correctly identified that John Lahr, son of Bert Lahr, who played the Cowardly Lion, was the biographer of Joe Orton. What does that have to do with being a defacer of library books?
He famously took library books out.
Took library books out with his murderous lover Kenneth Halliwell, and defaced them, basically.
Yeah. They wrote scurrilous blurbs, didn't they, and put obscene pictures in them.
Yes.
For which they were fined and sent to prison in 1962.
Yeah.
And you can indeed see some of the vandalised book covers on display in the Islington Museum to this day. Yes. So that's right. So the pairs are all biographers, parents, and subjects. So well done on that. I am going to give you 6 out of 6. Well, the biographers of our panellists will one day record that today's winners were Scotland, who scored 17 points, and the runners-up were North of England with 12, which means the honours are even after 2 matches between these pairs this year. So well done on that. That was not an easy round in any way. Next week, Northern Ireland play Wales, and I will reveal the solution to this question, which I'm going to leave you to think about until then. Which is the odd one out from a racing driver's card game, Mrs. Routledge's flowers, a noisy sporting implement, some geometric flooring, and an assumed name? And the question's going to be on our website all week if you want to look at it at your leisure, and I will reveal the answer next time. Until then, goodbye.